So I'll remind you, if you do not wish to be on video, you'll want to turn your video off now. Christopher, can you remind us how we turn our video off if we do not want to appear on camera?
Absolutely. If you go into the lower left-hand side of the screen, so should be about right here, you should see a camera icon. And if you just click on that, you will stop your own video. So if you want to stop your own video, this will be the place to do it. It is right next to the microphone where you can mute and unmute if you are called upon.
Here we go. And I just dropped the YouTube link in the Zoom chat below for those of us who want to maybe open it up in a window and just keep it in there. That way you can get to the playback later pretty easily or bookmark it, etc. I do have a YouTube playlist in place as well. So all of the Friday calls will be available inside there. I want to say good morning and welcome to all of you. And I'm curious if anybody that is joining us today, if you're new, joining us for the very first time, if you are new, you can either do the wave thing if you have your video turned on, or if you're feeling camera shy, you don't want to be waving, just go into chat and just say, I'm new. I am new. And I'll just give you a quick shout out and say good morning and welcome to you. If you feel comfortable doing so, we'll ask you to introduce yourself on camera. That is optional though, if you'd like to do that or not. So I'll give you a reminder again, if you're new and you'd like to introduce yourself, just type in I am new inside the chat. And if this is your first time joining us, we'll give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the group. So the way that these Friday calls work is I call these job seeker, what do we call these? Friday VIP job seeker office hours. I created this Friday group as an opportunity for us to network with and support one another. We're a team of individuals and we all support each other. Just like when you worked at a workplace, you were part of a team. And then one day you weren't. It was kind of like, well, yesterday I was, today I'm not. What happened? I liked being part of a team. I liked supporting people. I liked having people support me and help me. And all of a sudden you got that awkward tap on the shoulder or email or Zoom phone call or text message or whatever it was that they said, we're doing some restructuring and you're no longer part of the team. I always like being part of the team. So I've created a community within LinkedIn and within this Friday Zoom call as well, that we can support each other. I want you to know that you're not alone in this. And there are others that are going through the same experiences that you are. And it is a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it? I mean, you have your highs, you have your lows. Sometimes I feel like the roller coaster is not moving at all. Sometimes it feels like it's moving too fast, right? But the goal is that you have a community of other people who can help you throughout the process. And I call these office hours. I kind of think like when I was at work and you would say, oh, I have an open door policy and Fridays at 10 a.m. my door is open. Come on in if you have a question and let's see how we can help you. It's kind of the same concept here. Every Friday I offer these calls and I bring together with me a panel of experts. And there are a few people who are on the call with me here today. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. And they come from a background of either career strategy coaching or in Christopher's case, technology and in helping in different areas there. So I'm going to ask our experts to introduce themselves and we're going to go in this order. Mindy, I think you came on first, so you'll go first, then Jude, then Christopher. I'm not sure if that was the right order.
Brenda, you're muted.
Oh, I think somebody muted everyone. Okay, so Mindy, go ahead and tell us about yourself. You're totally fine. Go right ahead.
Sorry, that was me. I saw something. I said, oh, that's a good idea. Let's mute everyone as they come in. I didn't realize I was going to mute you, Brenda. Didn't mean to do that. So good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here today. I love speaking to job seekers. It is what I love to do. It is a passion of mine. I, at one point, was also laid off. I come from a background of human resources. I was the head of human resources for a bank for a very long time. And one day we were bought and they didn't need two heads of HR. And so I was left to figure out what I wanted to do. And so now, this is 9 years later, that's what I focus on. I spend my time helping people who are looking for jobs, whether it is with career coaching or resume building or learning how to interview correctly and really how to own your interview, and absolutely supporting a community like this. Thank you, Brenda, for hosting every week. And so any questions that you have, I'm more than happy to answer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mindy, and thank you for being here with us. I'm going to ask, let's see, who did I have going next? Jude to go next. And while Jude, you were doing your introduction, I'm going to ask everyone who's on the Zoom call to go into chat right now. I want you to introduce yourself in the comments. And what we're looking for is a succinct description here. We're looking for, tell us what is your targeted job title, tell us what is your targeted geographic area, and then drop in your LinkedIn URL. Make sure that it has the full HTTPS, and I would just go to LinkedIn, copy and paste it from there. We want it to be blue and clickable inside Zoom so that we can invite each other to connect and we can visit your profile while we're in the phone call. All right, so while you are all doing that, Jude, could you unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group?
Good morning. My name is Jude Gall, and I am what they call in Canada, a career practitioner. I'm just on the other side of Detroit in Windsor, Ontario, but I have worked with clients throughout North America, thanks to Zoom, which is absolutely wonderful. I have a lot of experience in helping people with job search. I worked at a nonprofit center for 14 years where I helped people with their job search, everyone from a bookmaker to a baker to a candlestick maker. So I've got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. Like Mindy, I help people with any aspect of their job search, whether it's writing a resume, whether it's getting a job search strategy together, whether it's learning, how to network effectively, or just practicing for an interview with a mock interview. I'm also a passionate believer that every person deserves a job that they love. And Monday morning should be a wonderful experience. And I know that can happen for people because it's happened to me. I used to love going to work on Monday mornings. I loved my job. And I left the city that I was in, and then I came to Windsor and had a contract position with an organization that wasn't quite a good fit. So I thought, I'm not going back. There wasn't another organization in the city that I wanted to work with. So I thought, okay, I'm going to hang up my shingle and provide the kind of assistance that I want to provide to people on my own. So here I am. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I look forward to this Friday meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jude. I'm so delighted that you're here and you're able to join us. And thank you in advance. You're going to be helping us out with some questions here today as well. So thank you for that. Christopher Johnson, can you introduce yourself to the group, please?
Well, greetings. This is not my first time here. Okay. The name of my company is Calm Clear Communications. I help executives and event organizers produce virtual events. How does that work for the job seeker? Well, I can help people who want to be more comfortable and confident on Zoom or any virtual platform so that they are ready for their virtual interview. And as always, this is the place to be. This is an appointment for fun and happiness on Friday.
Awesome. Thank you, Christopher, and thank you for joining us. And as always, for being our resident Zoom expert. Sometimes we have questions about Zoom and technology. I'm like, oh, good, Christopher's here, so we can ask him. The question. Let's see who else we have. Let's see, we went Christopher, Jude, Mindy, Sue Griffey. Sue, could you unmute and introduce yourself to the group?
Yes, thank you. As always, it is a delight of my week as well. I am known as Sue Mentors in the virtual world. I have a global mentoring practice, and I actually came to this through Brenda to learn how to better work with US-based clients. I work with professionals at all levels of transition, and transitions range from I need a job to I have a gap or I'm planning a gap. And as others have said, what I find is the ability to help people get unstuck, move beyond where they are, getting them closer to where they go. And I primarily do that by helping people tell their stories after they excavate their evidence so that they can, Christopher, thank you for pointing that out, the alliteration. But it's really important. I bring my program evaluator career to helping people define evidence-based results and achievements so they never lack for answering the question, who are you and what have you done for me lately? Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience who would define themselves as a career expert, a career strategist, a career coach, a resume writer, interviewer, negotiator, expert, anything like that? If so, raise your hand or unmute yourself and say, hey, Brenda, I'm here. Because sometimes I scroll through and I'm like, I miss people's names. And then you'll be at the end of the call and I'll be like, oh, Kenneth Lang was on the whole time and I didn't introduce him. So if there is someone else in the audience right now, you can either unmute yourself, raise your hand, turn your video on so I can see you. I think, oh, Santina's raising her hand. Hello, Santina. Would you like to unmute and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Similar to Sue, I call myself a transition coach. I definitely help people connect the dots to see where they've been, and that allows them to see really where they can go. A little bit like Christopher, I pride myself on my Zoom and on camera presence and prowess. So it's been an interesting little bit. My former position was a career coach and workshop creator and facilitator. So I really love talking about ATS and interviews and negotiation. I lovingly call it negotiation for newbies and cowards. So I'm happy to help anybody who is nervous about negotiating their salary in their next interview.
That's awesome. And I find I'm going to kind of jump start the conversation here too. Santina, a lot of people don't negotiate salary at all. Like they're freaked out. They're like, I've been out of work for 6 months, a year. I can't do anything that's going to scare the employer away. What's your response to that?
It never hurts to ask. That's really what it comes down to. A quick anecdote that I always tell people about my experience with negotiation is when I first became a manager. I was an assistant camp director many years ago, and very young, very green. And it was my job to conduct second round interviews. And so my director said, call these people, see what you think, and offer them a job. Okay, well, what should I ask them? Just Okay. I said, anything else? He said, oh yeah. Counselors start at $9.25, and every year that they've been on staff afterward is a quarter. And if they want to ask for more, we can go as high as 12. So it was nothing about the skills of interviewing what makes a good counselor, but it was all about, we still have money left on the table. So that was my introduction basically to, oh, wait, there's always money left on the table. So it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, would you play the lottery with a 50-50 chance of winning $1 million? Yeah. So why not ask? And a really easy way to do that, to make it a little less scary, could be just to ask something very general and say, I'd really be remiss if I didn't ask, is there any wiggle room in the salary for this position? Mm. And there you go. If you're asking though, be ready to have some evidence and eat your M&Ms, because metrics matter. Eat your M&Ms and have those metrics ready, because when they say, well, we really are kind of stuck here because you bring this and this and this. And that's when you go back and connect your dots and say, well, actually, and have those moments ready to present to them to get exactly what you are worth and then some.
Awesome. It never hurts to ask. And I found, I don't know how many times in my corporate career, I asked to negotiate salary. I think probably like the lower percentage is the time that they didn't negotiate, that they said, no, this is firm. I found in my experience, that's the exception. And what I learned was whatever the offer is the starting offer, typically. Keeping in mind that the goal of the company is to get you for the lowest price they can. That's their goal, because they want to keep their costs down and get the most out of you. then your goal is to try to get the most you can, because that's your starting point from which all future earnings increases will be based off of. So if you think about, they're giving you a percentage or two every year, it's off of the base. And if you can get the base a little bit higher over time, that's going to result in higher earnings for you. When you're in career transition, I have to kind of address the elephant in the room here. When you're in career transition, you feel like you're at a disadvantage. You feel like you're vulnerable. You need the job. You need the benefits. You want to start right now. And, you know, some employers may recognize that, and they may say, well, you know, this person's out of work. They're going to take whatever we get. Let's lowball them, because they're going to take whatever we get them, because we can see that they've been out of work for a while. You know, the right employers, if it asks the question, in an interview situation where they say, we'd like to offer you this job, starting salary is 60,000, here's the benefits, blah, 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 everything else. If you say, wow, that sounds amazing, Sue, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to working for Sue Griffey and Associates. I'm wondering though, is that offer firm? And then don't say anything, and then just wait. And it's an awkward, like you feel like you want to over explain. I don't, I just say, is that offer firm? And then I wait for Sue to say, well, and whatever Sue is going to say at this point, it is, because that's the cap at the band of the whatever we're in, and blah, blah, blah. Or Sue might come back and say, well, what did you have in mind? Which is her opening the negotiation door. Did you hear it? Just go, creak. It opened up. And then I say, well, based on my experience, pulling to Santina's background, based on my experience and also the research I've done, it looks like positions in this metro area at this level, with my level of experience, with my level of education, are paying anywhere between 60 and 80. And based on my level of experience, I think I should be at least at the midpoint, if not higher. Now, I haven't given her a number, but I've said midpoint or higher. So now she's in her mind thinking 70. Sue might say, I need to go talk to my manager or talk to the board or blah, 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 and get back to you. Or Sue might say right on the spot, what about 65? Then you just gained yourself 5,000 more in the process. And then you can think about whether that is something that you would want to accept. I would still at that point not ever accept on the spot. I need to give that some thought. I might at that point say, if it was a minimum of 70, I could give you an answer right now. I understand though, if you're capped at 65, let me give it, could we give this 24 hours? Could I give you a call back tomorrow? There's a couple other, and if there are, don't lie. If there are a couple other offers you're looking at right now, I just want to see where we're at on those. I'm most excited about your position. Sue Griffey and Associates is really where I want to work, but I need to evaluate all the options I'm considering right now, because this is not a short term. This is something I really want to invest my time with the company. And I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing by all, considerations. And then I walk away and Sue is like, no, Brenda, we need you. And she might say, let me go back and see what we can do to get you closer to that 70. Because we've really, at this point, the company's invested so much time and energy and effort into interviewing you and finding you as that golden candidate. They don't want to lose you to Mindy Stern and Associates or Christopher John LLC. They don't want to see you go to their competitors. They want you, right? So it's a little bit of a dance. When you're in a position where you're in career transition, you're feeling vulnerable, you feel like you need to take what you can get. You need the benefits, you need the steadiness of the paycheck, but you're at the point of negotiation, you're in the best position to get the most. 6 months in, you're not going to be able to go back to Sue and say, you know what, this really is a $75,000 a year position. Sue's going to be like, well, you've been doing it for 60,000 for 6 months. So obviously it's a 60,000, and you're not going to have any chance to go on there. So Santina, thank you for giving me a little diversion to get our conversation started here today. And we can continue on with this as a subject if there are folks in the audience who are interested in learning more about salary negotiation techniques or have questions about the whole art and dance of salary negotiation. Please feel free to raise your hand, or if you have a question, you can drop it into chat. On that note, I'd also love for you guys, if you do have a success story, go into chat right now and type in the word success, SUCCESS. Did I spell that right? Hope so. Is Yvonne on? She'll call me on it if I spelled it wrong. No, I don't think you're on here. Go ahead and put the word success into chat and we will call on you. If you do have a question, thank you, Christopher Johnson, for putting that into chat. If you do have a question, put the word question in all caps in chat, followed by your question, so that if we don't get to it today, someone else on the call might be able to answer it for you. And it also gives us some prompts for subjects and future speakers and things like that too. So let's see. I see somebody saying, sorry, I'm late. This is an apology-free zone on these calls. Have I told you guys that before? I don't think I have. This is an apology-free zone on these phone calls. If you come in late, you do not need to apologize. If you leave early, you do not need to apologize. If you do not want to have video on because you are fresh-faced, you do not need to apologize. If you accidentally mute the entire audience, maybe then you need to apologize. No, I'm just kidding. You don't need to apologize. If, you know, life happens. So whenever you come in, you come in. Whenever you need to leave, you leave. You know, we're here for you. We want this to be the type of meeting you look forward to every week, right? And we don't want this to be like, oh, if I come in late, they're going to go, why did Joey just get here? He's, you know, he knows we start at 10 and it's like 10:15 and he just got on. We don't want to be that way. So feel free to come in as your schedule permits. And if you can't come on for the full call, make sure that you are subscribing to my YouTube channel. Click on that notification bell, and that way you can get notified and watch the playbacks later on here. All right. So does anyone have a success story or a question? If you want to use your little raise hand feature inside Zoom, that will help me out a lot. Christopher, can you remind us how we use the raise hand feature in Zoom while I'm looking through my chat?
Absolutely. If you click on the reactions button, which should be about right here, you will see the raise hands under the emojis. So if someone says something that, you know, you really like, that resonates, you can cheer them on. You can say hurrah. Below that, you can find the raise hand. And after you've raised your hand and been called upon, you could lower it.
Yay, I see Lisa has raised her hand. Thank you for your instructions, Christopher. Lisa, how are you doing today and what can we help you with?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic. A couple weeks ago, I had asked a question. I had a recruiter reach out to me, and then I thought that I needed to reach back and just ask questions. Do you remember that? So she said, if you have any questions, just get back to me. I didn't really have questions, but I thought it was important to respond anyway, just to get myself out there. And I had some great feedback. I responded. She responded back. So we've been going back and forth a little bit, but I did my second interview.
Yay, that's
I'm
awesome.
so excited, very excited. It's the perfect job for me. So we'll see what happens. I'm waiting to find out if I make it to the next panel interview. So
That's
this is
awesome.
very
So-
cool. I'm really excited.
I'm going to kind of deem this a success story. It's a path towards where you're looking to do, which
It
really
is.
good.
It's a path. Even if I don't get the job, I'm moving forward and I'm a little bit closer.
So Lisa, let's, if you could share any advice for the fellow VIP job seekers that are on the call today, anything that you learned going through the process that was helpful for you.
I learned that it's important to respond, even, like I said, even if you don't have questions, find something to ask. Be able to be in their mind. Oh, she came back and asked me questions, and then we had this conversation back and forth. Follow them on LinkedIn. Follow the company. Do some research with other people within the company, and that's what I did. And one of the really big guys, not just a small guy, looked at my LinkedIn profile. So that's very cool.
That's good. So, Lisa Vitale, your name has come up. Somebody has said your name and somebody else has said, wait, I think I know that name too. Because if you're in the interviewing mix right now and people are looking, I think your name's come up. I think in a positive way, that's a good thing.
Thanks. I'm excited. I feel good. Like I said, it's a process, it's a step, and it's all good.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool. It's
So,
exciting.
what I'd like to do right now is I want to do a little demonstration of what Lisa talked about. I'm just going to pull up a random company. I'm not going to necessarily find the employer that you were referencing on here, but let me just do a quick screen share on here. I should probably pull my LinkedIn on my page first before I do that. Okay. Let's click on screen one, share. Here we go. Okay. And by the way, I just posted about this on LinkedIn and I grabbed a screen capture picture. That's why you're seeing that superimposed on the screen. So let's say I want to work for a company, and I'm just going to find a company here. I don't want to do that one. See if I can find an ad in here. Oh, let's say Starbucks, because I like Starbucks. I like my coffee. I'm going to look their page up on LinkedIn. Let's say Starbucks is a company that's in my targeted employer list. Maybe there are positions I've applied for, maybe I'm interviewing with them, maybe I'm in conversations, whatever. First thing I'm going to do is go to their page on LinkedIn, make sure that I am following the page. So click on the follow button if you have not already done so. Do this for all of your targeted companies. Okay, so make sure that you click on the follow button. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on posts, and I'm going to see what has this company recently posted on LinkedIn. And by the way, when you first come to a company page post, you're going to see at the top it says sort by top. I'm going to highlight it right here, sort by top. If you want to see more recent posts, you're going to change that to sort by recent. So now instead of seeing something else, you might see a different type of a post that's coming up in here. Hey, look at this. We're hiring. When you join Starbucks, you can get benefits personalized for you. Don't they still give you like free coffee too, like a pound of coffee a week? I don't know. But I see that there's a post in here and I could give it a like. I could also give it a comment, and I might say very interested in this company if I'm unemployed and in between career successes, of course. Or I might say Starbucks has been my favorite coffee. Here's my favorite beverage or something. I'm going to add some type of a comment in there just to get my name into the mix and become familiar with the company, with the organization. And do that like once a week. You want to start to become that familiar name that people start to see on the company page. And this is a very large company page. We can see they've got 2.5 million followers. Smaller local organizations, they may have just in the hundreds, and there's not too many people commenting. So you're going to increase your visibility by getting in there. While you're on the page, you'll also be able to see the number of employees. If you click on, it's actually a link. I don't know if you knew this, but if you click on where it says 174,000 employees, it will take me to a list of the people that work at Starbucks. Okay. And maybe from here, maybe I'm looking to work in their marketing department, and I type on the word, actually not in here. I'm going to go into filters. Sorry, I don't want to leave this page here. I'm going to go into filters, and maybe I go back into the bottom of the filters and I put in the marketing as a keyword in the title field. Move this out of here. And then I'm going to click on show results. And now I can see people who work for marketing at Starbucks. Now at this point, I'm going to invite these people to connect. I usually will open them in a separate tab, and I'll show you how to do that. Just right click on their name, open link in new tab, and then I can have their profiles open and not navigate away from my search results. This point, I'm going to click on the connect button, add a note. And what I like to do in my invitations is I always personalize it. I'm not going to tell Kate that I'm applying or interested in applying for a marketing job at Starbucks in my invitation. The goal of your invitation is to get that invitation accepted. You have a higher likelihood of doing so if the invitation is more personalized, more about that person. On the whole, I mean, some people will appreciate that you're saying you're looking for a job because they are desperate to fill the position. I don't know. I don't like to gamble in that direction. I'd rather try to get them to accept it first, because then I have permission to message them. And in the second note, I can say, I'm interested in applying for this job. Do you have any insights on the hiring process? Or is this a position within your department or something? I can get them talking. If I go for the jugular in the first one, if I say I'm applying for the XYZ marketing position, and Kate's like, I don't want to talk to candidates, and scares her away, right? So I'd rather get her to accept the invitation by personalizing it first and then continuing on there. So that's a technique that you could use, building up connections that work at the company. And the cool thing about this technique for all of you is that once you start connecting with people and you start having more and more first level connections, I don't have any at the company right now, then you can say, you know, hi Brady, we haven't met yet, but I see that we share 43 mutual connections, including Kate Erickson, right? And Brady might work in the same office as Kate, and he might go, hey Kate, do you know Brenda Muller? And Kate might go, she just connected with me on LinkedIn. And then they're really impressed that, you know, I'm working through the network, and especially in a marketing role, that type of thing. So that's a technique, building up familiarity. The more common connections you have at a company, almost become like a trusted person, because all of the other employees of the company, their coworkers have started accepting your connection requests. And all of these things are helping to get you out of the clutter of the thousands of candidates that are applying online for the marketing position. We're trying to get your resume pulled up to the top of the stack on here. So again, just to summarize, follow the page, go to a recent post and add a comment, and then also try to connect with employees who work at the company. You can click on the employee tab find people that are working in a similar role or department, personalize the invitation, connect, get some conversations started. I want to go through the career experts that we have on the call today to see if they have any advice they would like to offer to add to that process. Mindy, I'll go with you first. Mindy, do you want to add anything to that process? I think you're muted here. For just a second. Here you go.
I can tell you from firsthand experience that this process works. Most people are not going to this level of depth with the companies, but it's such a fantastic way to differentiate yourself from other candidates. It's amazing, and I've coached many people to do this. Some do it more successfully than others, but when it works, it is kind of amazing that, oh wow, because when you go to the people section and you see your second level connection to somebody, you'll immediately see who you're connected with, and you can make that, connect the dots for them. Say, hey, I know John was wondering if you would like to connect with me. It's just an amazing way to connect with people, and people are pretty generous in general, would like to help you if they can. And they don't like that the whole recruiting process any more than you do. They're looking at thousands of resumes. They don't know how to differentiate one from another, but all of a sudden you started to post on their site. You have connections in common. You sound like you're an intelligent person. Why wouldn't they take a look at your resume before they look at the others, more anonymous people? So Brenda, this is amazing and very important for people to understand. So thank you. Can I say one other thing that you mentioned earlier that's really important for people to know? When we're talking about negotiating, one of the things that you said is you were aware of what the market value was of that role. And so doing your homework and knowing what the market value is super important. You can't go into a $60,000 job and say, I need 150, right? So you've got to be knowledgeable of what the market is. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if anyone said that. So just to go back to that point.
So that's kind of talking about the salary negotiation. So you can't just ask for you got to it goes back to the point, Mindy, of doing your research, right? Knowing what the market is paying, not what you think you deserve or what you were making at your last job. And that's going to be a pay cut for me. But what should this position be paying for in the market? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly right.
Yeah. And on that point too, for the ladies on the call, I just want to remind you, if you do use any salary websites to look up salary, salary.com, payscale.com, LinkedIn even has a salary tool as well. Make sure that you do not put in gender, because if you put in female, the pay scale will always be lower. The salary range will always be lower. So do not put in gender. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's fair, but don't use gender in that criteria. Joey, I see your hand raised. Do you have a question or something you'd like to add to the conversation?
I just wanted to add something, Brenda, and I think we talked about this last week, and I apologize for beating a dead horse, but in your example, you reaching out to Brady and mentioning that Kate helps you if, in fact, you've had to submit your resume or application via an ATS. Because now, like I said last time, you're just a number in that system. But Brady and Kate now hear your name or see your name in print, and it's very possible that somebody can walk your resume and application into these people or vice versa. And talk about separating yourself from the masses. That's another way to do that. So it's just another example of, bypassing the system legally, right? But, getting to where you got to go.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it, Joey. Sue, I see your hand was raised. Do you want to add to the conversation here?
Yes, I'm going back to the company website and employees. And this is tangential but important. LinkedIn, because of letting us see employees at a company, now give us even more of a window into understanding company culture. And this is an underrepresented aspect of job search. People want to be hired. Oh, I want to go here. Maybe Starbucks is a great company for you. Maybe it's not. You need to understand it. So you don't just have to rely on the company's externally facing website and marketing materials. Look at the kinds of employees that are being hired. Look at what they put on LinkedIn. See if they're active on LinkedIn. Look at all those signals that might be important to you about the kinds of things people post about. Are they posting about how the company does professional development activities for them? Are they posting about opportunities to get back to the community? Is the company posting about ways that they've continued to go at least do hybrid work? All of these things I think will help you. So I just wanted to add that aspect on.
Thank you, Sue. I want to add one more point and then we'll go to Jude next. And that is, did you notice it was just on the Starbucks page? Let me go back and show you this again. It was on the Starbucks page. And sometimes it'll show on it will always show on the right-hand side, affiliated pages. So if they have any sub pages or different categories on here, they also have pages people also viewed. Sometimes you can find other target companies from this for your target list for jobs that you're looking for. From looking at this, and at the bottom it'll say see all similar pages, and you can pull up all of the pages that are kind of viewed often in conjunction with looking at that one page. So if you're struggling with coming up with a target list, look at competitors of that organization as well. Jude, is there something else you wanted to add to the conversation on the topic here?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if you are going to be doing this and on LinkedIn, make sure your LinkedIn profile is ready to rock and roll. Have a great picture. Make sure those first 4 lines in your about section really are going to pull people in and let them know what you do, how you can handle their pain points. And make sure you've got your experience filled in, your recommendations. All of that is really important because people will look at your LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So doing a quick once over from top to bottom periodically is a really good thing. A lot of people just forget. They kind of set up their LinkedIn once upon a time and then they never look through it ever again. And you can see here as you're going through Jude's LinkedIn profile, she's using the featured section. She's posting regularly. She's linked to company pages. She's got media inside her experience section as well. She's got a lot of great things. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to scroll down to her skills section. Since I'm connected with Jude, I can endorse her for her top 3 skills, which is going to help her. It's my way of saying thank you to you, Jude, for helping us out on the phone calls. But as job seekers, you can help each other by giving endorsements for your top 3 skills. That's going to help you to come up in more searches on LinkedIn. So a little bonus tip for you. All right. So we started going through the list of career experts to add in advice on this following company page or engaging with company page. I think we kind of popped around a little bit. Does anyone else from my co-host group want to offer advice about company page interaction or anything on that topic before we move on? If you do, unmute yourself right now. Going once, twice. All right. How about salary negotiation? Do we want to focus on that a little bit this week, guys? It seems like that was an interest of topic a little bit earlier in the conversation here today. I'm not seeing any other questions coming into chat right now. So let's keep along. I think let's keep going along the path of salary negotiation. I'm going to pull up on screen right now, salary.com. I want you all to go into chat. If you have other websites that you use for helping with salary negotiation or resources for looking up salaries, things like that, feel free to drop those into chat. In addition to salary.com, another one I have used is called payscale.com. Keep in mind the data on these websites is only as good as the recency that it has been put in. I left corporate 5 going on 6 years ago. The last data points they had on my salary was from 5 or 6 years ago. Jude put on here, Indeed and Glassdoor also offer salary information. And even on LinkedIn, let me go back and see. I think it's under the work icon. Move my video panel out of the way. Work icon, and where is it at? Salary. So if you go under the work icon in the top menu bar, you see where it says home, my network, jobs, messaging, notifications. So the work icon, it looks like a waffle. So click on that work waffle. Underneath that, you should see an icon that says salary. And if you go inside this section, you can look for salary ranges for targeted positions. And I'm going to, again, remind you, the data is as good as the inputs that are coming into here. years ago, it was probably 10, maybe 12 years ago when they first launched it. I remember LinkedIn was sharing with people, this will be confidential. We're not going to tell your employer that you're looking for a job. We're not going to tell recruiters what you're making now. And people were very nervous and skeptical about putting their salary information about LinkedIn. So they were really trying to push and tell people that it was confidential going in here. I think that now it's been around a little bit longer. There's probably more trust that's existing inside the site. And it is on LinkedIn. You don't have to go to PayScale or Indeed or Glassdoor or anything to look up salary information. If it were me, what I would do is I would pull salary from maybe 3 or 4 websites: PayScale, Glassdoor, salary.com, and LinkedIn, and then, you know, kind of figure out the patterns and say the salary range is 60 to 80 is what I've been finding based on my industry research. Typically the recruiters won't say, what are your sources? But if they do, you can say, I've used, and you want to use reputable sites, PayScale, Indeed, Glassdoor, etc., things like that. You wouldn't want to say, I found it on a Wikipedia page or you know, something that doesn't have validity against it in the background. I want to open up the floor to the others that are on the call to see, do you have any questions about salary negotiation, about using salary websites, about resources that you have used? Raise your hand if you could. And if you're one of my co-hosts, if you want to unmute yourself, please feel free. Anybody? I feel like I want to say Bueller.
Brenda.
Lewis, I see Lewis
Oh.
raised his hand. Lewis, hello, how are you today? You'll need to unmute yourself if you don't mind, good sir.
Oh, yes, that
There we
would
go.
help. So I've used this website because the salary.com, when I'm, you know, trying to decide if it asks for the range or asks for something. I found it to be important, but a lot of times I will add this: the recruiter or the hiring manager will say, what are you looking for? And then I throw it back at them. I already know what my range is. I already know what I'm worth based on the research I've done in the area that they're hiring for. Some of them are obviously hybrid, so you just go with a range. You have your idea of what you want, and then when they ask, you just say, well, what's your range? What's the client's range? And they usually tell you. If they don't, then you do what some of the things that Brenda says. You kind of just try to negotiate it. Okay, well, I was really looking for this. What are you guys looking for? And they go, hesitate. Then you say, well, can you know, how about we meet in the middle? This, excuse me. So salary.com is beneficial, but you can look at other websites, and I do, you know, 2 or 3 and get an idea, and then I'm good. And I just set that for that position in hopes that they'll meet me in the middle if that's not what they're looking for.
Awesome. Lewis, I'm going to give you one LinkedIn tip if you don't mind before we
Yes,
go to,
absolutely.
To John. You need to be posting at least once a week with an event tip, because you are positioning yourself as an experienced event planner, marketer, promoter, and event services professional. And an easy thing to do for you, Lewis, might be just talking about an event. Like, here's an upcoming event. This is why you should attend. So marketing and promoting that event in a post. Or it could be event marketing tips. You want to catch the attention of people who are looking to hire you is the goal there.
Okay, and I'm doing that, but let me ask, where should I be doing it? Because I do it in my groups. I have several groups I'm a member
You
of.
should be doing it publicly. I mean, groups is good, but publicly. Because when I go to your activity feed on LinkedIn, the last time you posted, I'm just going to go back to here again. Let me click on post. It was 1 month ago.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure you and the others on the call are aware, you know, it's common, you know, for people to connect on LinkedIn and then they kind of forget about you. When you post, you get your name out into the homepage feed again. Ideally, you should be posting at least once a week, working up to once every business day if you can. And when I say if you can, I want that to be a pattern of activity that is sustainable long-term. I'd rather see you posting once a week, every week, than 5 times in 1 week and then not again for 6 months because you got burned out with it. But the goal here is to keep you visible as you're going through the job search process, and also illustrate your area of expertise, the value you could bring to a company in your post. So as a job seeker, your intended target audience on LinkedIn is a hiring manager or a recruiter. You're trying to catch their attention in the homepage feed. When you're working, your target audience is probably different. It might be your customers or your coworkers or other people. But when you are looking for a job, you're trying to catch the attention of a hiring manager. if you're sharing regular event tips on a, sharing event tips on a regular basis, so if you're going to catch the attention of somebody who's hiring an event planner, they're going to go, wow, look at this guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I will add that I've taken a couple weeks off of doing some of that. So that may be why the last public post. But I will say that the recruiters, I do ask them, and I encourage everybody, how did you find me? Where did you? And a lot of times it's, well, I did a search in LinkedIn for,
Yep.
and then they put in the city they're looking for, what have you. And I come up usually one of the very top, if not, a lot of times they'll say, oh, you were the number one. So that means what you, Brenda's saying, to other people have said about posting and doing things, keeping active, and this
Yep.
community has been very helpful, has kept me up on that level.
Yeah. And I definitely get the, I see a couple people in comments right now saying, I haven't posted this. It's a holiday week. I mean, there's certain weeks, Memorial Day, 4th of July, even around the Christmas and New Year's holidays where, in Jewish holidays where people aren't posting as regularly, and that's okay. But on the whole, I just want to make sure that you are visible. And it could have been, it's the summer right now. I mean, we're all a little bit lighter on our activity. And I'm not trying to like call you out to embarrass you, Louis. It was just like something like, your profile's got some good stuff in there. I want to continue to see you posting content. So it's just a little nudge to keep you supported there.
Much appreciated.
All right. John Lyman, I see that you raised your hand. What can we help you with, or what question do you have for us today?
A comment. Good morning, everyone. I think we've spoken about this before, but just as a reminder that it's at this point of the dance where you as the candidate, as the job seeker, hold the most leverage you will ever have with the company as far as getting any kind of salary negotiation in your favor. Unless you are developing patents for them every other week, this is the part where you get to influence what's going to happen with your salary for the next year or so. So it does matter. It is worth the effort to get over whatever discomfort you might feel by being prepared as you can with a number. The key here is that you do not give the first number. You have to somehow get them to tell you what they are working with. And one magic phrase that has worked for me is asking a couple of questions that lead up to that important point that you're trying to make. Ask if the position is a replacement or a new position. Is it a budgeted position? And if the answer to that last question is yes, then you ask them, what is the budget that is set for the position? And you look for that range, the low and the high. And this is where your preparation comes in. Is it within what it is that you would like to see? If they set a number higher than what you were expecting, you are golden, and then negotiate up to that point. Speaking for the US, the country has a poor practice of being able to haggle. So in other countries, that is a normal expectation. You go into the market, the seller says, I'll sell you this pot for pottery, not the pottery for
we just went
$10.
sideways.
$10. You accept it. They would have been willing to sell it to you for $3. So understand what it is that you have. You have a lot more power and position than you might be realizing. So go in prepared, be able to cite those reputable sites, not just 1, 3 or 4, and position it so that you're not making the recruiter feel bad. Help them understand and educate them that the marketplace of which you are a candidate now is expecting this much as opposed to what they might have already budgeted. So in that conversation, you now are partners. You are asking and helping the recruiter meet what their client is looking for. You are their candidate. Ask the candidate, this is what you are expecting, because this is part of what the company will provide you to help you succeed in the position. Because if you go in with buyer's remorse, thinking, oh, I could have gotten an extra $5,000 or so, you're not going to perform well, because it will always be in the back of your mind. So spend the energy, spend the time to get that extra 5, 10, 15% upfront, that if you were to accept their lower offer, it would take you years to get back, as opposed to the hour or so, and that awkward moment where you actually demand and say, this is my value. Let's see what we can do with it.
John, you just made me think of something when you were talking about salary negotiation, and you said that if, let's say, they come in with an offer that's already above your range, or if you ask the question, what are you looking to pay for this job? And they come in with a range. So let's say, for example, hypothetically, I am working in a role right now and I'm making 65,000 and I'm interviewing for companies, and I feel like I'm undervalued, but I don't really know. But I do my market research and I'm seeing the salary band should be like 60 to 80. I'm like, okay, I'm 65, I'm at the low end. I started interviewing for companies and I found a position. I get into a conversation with an employer and I say, what are you looking, what's your pay range? And they say it's 80 to 100. And I don't go, oh my God, I don't react to it. I'm like, okay, that sounds fair. And then I do my research and I come back with, maybe I put in some criteria wrong, I tweak and modify, and I am coming up with a similar range, 80 to 90. And then 80 is already a step up from 65. I would be happy with 80 walking away from that, but it's still a negotiation. So if through the end of the process, whether you have disclosed your salary because you had to fill it out on a job location or some other way, they figured out 80 is going to be a step up for you. They offer you 80 because remember, as a company, their goal is to pay you as little as possible to get you as a candidate. If they can get you for 80, why not? That's a deal, right? Why not offer her 80? It's still a jump up from what she made before, but they offer you 80 and you say, really happy to hear about it. I know you mentioned earlier in the process that your range was 80 to 100. I know through the conversation we've been having over the past few weeks that I have XYZ skills. I'm bringing in, X number of years of experience. I've got my bachelor's and master's degree, all the qualifications. I believe I should be at least more towards the midpoint of that range. I'm wondering, if that might, and I'm not going to say, why did you only offer me 80? I might say, I'm wondering if it might be possible to look more towards the midpoint of your range. And then you wait, and a good recruiter is not going to say, well, you're only making 65 right now. If they do, though, you counter with, I understand, but my company has been, unfortunately, not keeping up with the salary ranges within the industry. Here is the industry data that I've come up with, and the range is actually 80 to 100, which matches what you're coming up with for this. And then we're playing a little bit of tennis here. We want to be respectful in the conversation and the dialogue back and forth. But I want you to remember that even if they offer you something above what you are making, it doesn't mean you have to accept it. There's still a possibility for doing some negotiation. John, did you want to add anything onto that before I move on?
Understand it's not adversarial. They're not out to get you, and you're not out to take them to the cleaners. It is a partnership, but it does help to be able to play poker. So if you're comfortable with that bluffing back and forth kind of a thing, having a poker face when they're offering, $20K more than what you expected, but that's their low number. Understand, everybody knows the dance. So just go in there and do it well. You'll be amazed at the results.
And it does take a little bit of experience getting comfortable with that dance too. It's just like riding a bike or swimming in a pool or doing ballroom dancing. You gotta, get some practice doing it. But I love your point, John, of it's not adversarial. It should be a win-win. It should feel like coming out of a negotiation, you are both getting something that you wanted. They are getting you as a candidate, a happy candidate who feels like they're well paid and compensated with the market value. And you are getting a pay level that's going to your point, John, make you feel like you want to give it your all into the position. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Santina, I see that you have your hand raised. Did you want to add a point to that? Or I know that you would mention something in chat about the success too. What did you like to add?
Well, I'll talk about the negotiation stuff, and I'll keep it short because I go on for ages. I get so excited about this. But I'll put a little bit on the flip side and give you a little bit of, we don't always know what to do, and what works for one might not work for another. For instance, John had said, never give your number first, but there are schools of thought that say, no, come in with a number and come in confidently. Your choice. I come from the cowards and newbie school, so I make them say a number first. And in the poker face realm, yeah, the last job that I had, even though I had done my research, kind of had a clue, I ask them what their hiring range was. The gentleman said the number, and I had to practice the most serious poker face of my life because it was $12,000 more than what my hope was. So I went, okay, thank you. And then I proceeded to negotiate for $3,000 more. So just like Brenda said, just because they give you this wonderful number doesn't mean there's more. And then also, all of these tips of what to do. Sometimes knowing what not to do is helpful as well. So I'll give just a tip or two on the what not to do. Don't make it about your personal self and struggles, and don't make it about the negative or perceived negative things of your previous company. So if you say, oh, well, my previous company really struggled with budgeting, and they just, they were just all over the place, and fiscally they were a mess. So, okay, well, you're talking bad about that company. I will be darned if you're going to talk bad about my company 6 years from now. Thank you, next. So be careful there. And don't say, oh, well, this is a really long commute for me, and we just adopted a new puppy, and my daughter is getting married. Nobody cares. Okay. When it comes to negotiations, you just kind of have to harden yourself. Nobody cares. I mean, we do care, but not when it comes to money. We want to know what your actual professional experience is that's going to help you make money for this company so that we can continue to give you raises. So keep that in mind as the what not to do. Make sure it's all about your metrics, your professionalism, all that kind of stuff. What you can bring to the company. It's the big with them. What's in it for me? There you go. And as for my own personal success, it was a journey. And I accepted a verbal offer yesterday, and I'm going through the digital paperwork today. So I'm really excited.
Oh, I'm
and I do have to give a special personal shout out to Brenda. A few months ago, after coming here and putting in my own little 2 cents, you actually recognized me as one of the voices who has a clue here, and I'm still like, I won't call myself an expert. Because who is really, but I sincerely appreciate that. And it was a crazy boost to my confidence and really helped me, kind of climb out of the hole. So you all are so amazing. I appreciate all of the, applause and pats on the back. I'm definitely that kind of person. So thank you all.
Oh, you're welcome. I don't like to call myself an expert either, even LinkedIn expert. Like, yeah, I have some knowledge, but that's up to you, the community, to define who's an expert, who's not. I used to call myself a LinkedIn ambassador. I'm going to show you around and show you all the things that there are to do on here. But Santina, you've really been an asset to the group. On that note, we're starting to get to the end of our hour. So I want to remind all of you, my goal is to not see you on these Friday calls, not because I don't like you. And don't like being here to support you, but because of the fact that the goal is to get you back to work. That's the goal. And in the meantime, the goal is that we are the team that will be here to support you, to share your successes, to celebrate you along the journey, to help to lift you up when you are feeling down. And I don't want anyone to feel alone. If you are struggling and feeling alone, I want to remind you, reach out to other group members, and maybe even find, there might be an accountability partner you can find in the group, somebody that you can do like a once a week phone call with, check in, maybe you set a goal for the week, and then the next week you check in and say, how are you doing against that goal? If you have somebody that's built in to help you, to keep yourself accountable, you're more likely to get the things done. So maybe it's this week, I'm going to make a targeted list of companies. Next week, I'm going to connect with 20 new people who are in my targeted job title in my targeted geographic area to try to build my network out. Maybe the following week, I'm going to go to a virtual event, maybe an in-person event if you're feeling comfortable. But then the next week on the call, the person will say, hey, Brenda, did you go to that virtual event? What did you do this week? If you know that somebody's looking out for you, you're more likely to follow through. All right, guys, it is almost 11 and I've actually got to jump off of here to go on to another call. I'm going to end the YouTube live stream right now. So thank you for those of you watching us on